Have you ever wondered what would happen if you could obliterate anyone in StarCraft II using an indestructible army? Well, now you can! In the army smashing game mode Direct Strike, there is a new mutator that we can exploit to win any match. For those who aren't familiar with the weekly Brawl, Direct Strike has a game mode that introduces wild and crazy effects that have the potential to break the careful balance of the game, and we have broken everything. You see, how this one works is we can select 4 passive bonuses which apply to each and every unit in our army. Each individual bonus is not particularly exciting, but we can stack them in a way that completely invalidates our opponent's attempts to even remotely stand against us. All we have to do is choose a Vorazun commander for those Alpha Star level Blink Stalkers, stack 2 cooldown reduction bonuses and a life regen bonus. Because you see, with a cooldown bonus, our units will be able to blink away anytime they are damaged. And with a life regen bonus, our units will simply heal up any damage they took while blinking away. This means our units are unkillable. They simply press on endlessly, gradually grinding our enemies into hopeless defeat. And we're off. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put down the first Stalker, although he is not yet immortal. And that's just to get him to march across the middle line so that he can collect some extra goodies, little extra minerals for us. And while we wait, just go ahead and pick up our bonuses. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up plus damage because that's great. In order to make this work, I need blood, so that the plus 8 life per second, water for the plus cooldown speed, and a second water for the plus cooldown speed. So this is exactly the upgrades we want. And once we get it's a Nova. Oh, they have no idea what's going to happen to them. So we're going to be facing off against this Nova player here, and we're going to be getting down all of these units in the world. Now, remember, the way this works is that once our unit blinks backwards, it's going to regenerate its HP because of this life per second aura. It gets 8 life per second, just constantly in combat, out of combat, doesn't matter. And after we hit level 2 and we get the blink upgrade, they will regenerate all of their shields upon blinking. So every time this unit blinks, it will regenerate itself to full HP from whatever damage it has taken. Now, this is where things get fun. Because we got 2 stacks of this 25% cooldown speed aura, what this means is that they'll be able to blink every time they get shot. The blink is already an ability that doesn't have much of a cooldown, coming in at 7 seconds of cooldown. And look at that, he takes damage and he blinks away, and that's just how that goes. With a 50% blinking cooldown, like that's just, the blink comes off cooldown right as they decloak. Look at that. So they just blink away almost immediately. Of course, Nova does have the snipe ability, which gives them the option to one-shot my Stalkers one at a time. But that's not an ability that can be used all the time. It's a very, very slow ability. And we have many units. And so that outside of Nova's one snipe ability, it's going to be very difficult to get rid of any of these Stalkers. So they're just immortal. And I cannot wait to see what Nova tries to do. I did see a Nova the other day try to go with the mass hollow decoy strat, because hollow decoys hit really hard. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to help them. It didn't help previous Nova. Typically, these Hellbats are enough to deal with Vorazun, because if you'll see here, the Hellbats can stun, and that gives a moment's reprieve to deal with the Stalker. But unless you're able to chain stun them, which you can't really do, this Stalker just does what we see there, which is blink away. Now I think this Nova actually has their own life regen. Looks like 2 or 3 stacks of it actually, which is going to be very difficult for my Stalkers to deal with. And by that I mean my Stalkers are not a particularly high DPS unit. So what's going to end up happening is I won't be able to kill their units, they won't be able to kill mine, and that's going to be a stalemate in the middle. And I do have options to clean that up. I can get things like Dark Templar, or preferably things like Oracles, with their high DPS to fly over and incinerate everything that dares try to face off against my Stalkers. It's gonna be very, very good, I think, and it's gonna be super fun to watch them try to handle me here. So here we're going to clean up my teammates' leaks. That's plus 1.5 range on those enemy Dahaka units. We are cleaning up that. Wow, that is so much HP regen on that Hellbat. It's fine. It's fine. I'm just gonna blink our units back. It looks like my teammate's going for the similar strategy. Except they only got... Oh, wow. Yeah, they're gonna have a nice time out there, too. They got +1 range on theirs, so that's gonna be... They got +1 range instead of damage, so hopefully they can manage that. Unfortunately, it looks like my teammate isn't getting the detection he needs to clean up those Duskwings. Typically you'd want to get a couple Corsairs mixed in with detection. I see that he is spending his money elsewhere, which is gonna mean it's gonna fall on me to clean up his mess for a while, which is actually okay, because we can do that. As you can already see, we are stacking very hard, as I have a significant portion of my wave that survived from last time, and it's gonna be marching on here. I do want to get weapons and armor upgrades, but not before getting the critical mass of stalkers. Because just like normal... Oh, he's already starting with the siege tanks. He knows. That means I'm gonna have to go straight into Void Rays after this. As I was saying, the stalkers are a critical mass kind of unit. They are a unit that, once you have a certain number of them on the field, they just get better. And they get better by leaps and bounds. Because what ends up happening is, in order for these units to fully regenerate, it takes them a few seconds, like 3 seconds or so to fully regenerate. And they can be vulnerable during that few seconds of time. We'll see here. Look, he's not fully regenerated yet, and he's just come off cooldown. He can take chip damage, just because if you keep on top of them enough, if you keep constant pressure on them, it is possible to push them back fast enough to eliminate the stalkers, which is almost mathematically impossible in most situations. Very few commanders can actually do that. Something like a super buff Rainer can do that, but outside of that, it's very difficult to do. But it is possible, and you can do that with... It's just a disaster for the opponents to have to deal with, and it's frankly, like, I don't generally know how to deal with this. There's only one other strategy that can meaningfully deal with this, and it's kind of like a counter cheese strat. And there is another strategy that's of similar power level, but this is just kind of very... Oh, look at this! Like it's between me and my teammate doing the same thing. We're walking over them. And every time they try to push into us, look, our stalkers, they're fine. They're just blinking away from everything. They don't care. They're like, oh, look at me. You're going to push me around. I'm just going to go over here and shoot you now. It's like, okay. Just shoot from another angle. Let's go ahead and deactivate this so that he stays in full-on detection mode. Is now going to be a good time for the black hole. We do have one siege tank with bonus splash damage. So that will help us. I can use the black hole here to great effect. Someone had detection out here. I don't know who it is. You know what? Let's do this. Let's get the 2 siege tanks stunned. Get all those in range for this shock division to do the damage. There we go. That's nice. I think we've hit that critical mass where once our first line of stalkers takes a hit, we'll blink behind that second line and be able to come completely off cooldown and fully regenerate before hitting that front line again, only to repeat the process. You can tell when you hit the critical mass, as we saw earlier when I was pointing it out with that massive stack there. When the enemy is unable to eliminate the stalkers and clean through them at all, they're just kind of bunching up upon themselves, that's when you know you've hit the critical mass, so then I can start investing into other things like upgrades. Imagine an entire critical mass of these stalkers just getting upgrades and actually doing damage, as opposed to just existing like water, ebbing and flowing with all the bullets and projectiles flying at them. Just the revolving blink. Oh dear. Okay, so now I clearly need Corsairs to clean this up. My teammate is doing the same thing, and yeah, he's just got his upgrades as well. So now I go with Corsairs, because Corsairs will enable me to clean up all of those Banshees. Quite quickly, actually, although I do need to get a fair few of them going. They are holding the line versus us, which is, I would say, impressive, but they're holding the line on top of their base, which is kind of the reason why they're able to do that. I'm going to actually get another gas here. I suspect it won't pay off, but I want to get it just in case. Yeah, they are actually starting the push. We should be able to turn this around here. There we go. We've got detection up there. Go on. Keep the detection alive. We see the Corsair, what few Corsairs we have, tickling away at those Banshees. They're trying, you know? They're trying so hard. A few more Banshees. Once we get the Corsairs able to take out those Banshees, we can enable their disruption web, which will cause all of their ground units to walk into our unlimited line of Stalkers, and we're going to do great and terrible damage to them. Turns out if you can have an entire wave of your units hitting an entire wave of theirs while their wave isn't able to fight back, you kind of just wipe out most of their wave before they even have an opportunity to damage yours. It's extremely effective. Now I'd actually be time to hit that disruption web because they've got plus range on those Ravistors, and we want them to walk into range of our units. That would be ideal. Thank you. Wow, he's got so much HP regen on his Nova that he's out DPSing an Oracle, which is kind of impressive. Alright, it looks like we are going to hold the line here. And once we've held the line... Okay, scan, thank you. Once we've held the line, things get really bad for our opponents. Because they were relying on their stack to push into us. And we weren't really relying on the stack. So now we should be able to push back. I think we're starting to stack. Because once we're stacked, it's going to be almost impossible for them to unstack us. No? Are they unstacking it? Are they preventing the stack? They prevented the stack. Alright, now I've got to clean up Dahaka, which I can clean up Dahaka. I'm not confident I'll be able to clean up Dahaka and their Nova. There's the Dahaka cleanup. I don't have... I'm gonna hit that with the stasis. That's a quick expenditure there, but I think worth it. A little bit of micromanagement, a little bit of cheekiness for you boys. There we go. I really need, as much as I realize that Dahaka doesn't have aircraft for me to handle, I really need these Corsairs to clean up for my teammate who's yet to get Corsairs to deal with those Banshees. Like his Stalkers, they're surviving, but they're not dealing damage. And those Banshees are dealing damage, and they're dealing terrible, terrible damage to our Manx player, and it's a real problem. We can't allow that. Like it's a real problem. But now we're stacked. And I don't think they have the ability to unstack us, especially considering I can use the Singularity at any time, which is going to be great. Which I want to be using the moment those Banshees come into view. There we go. Hit him with this. No more of this. We have an absolute ton of Stalkers here to play with. And in fact, let's do this just to get them forward and DPS this down and end this game. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you handle, or rather, how you use Stalkers to basically break everything, because it's ridiculous. It is actually crazy just how much damage and how much damage they can take. It's beautiful. And I look forward to seeing you guys use this out in the field. But for now, have a good one, everyone. And I'll see you guys later.